So what do we learn this week about Proliferate Engine in Modern? And overall, I was very pleasantly surprised by how well and how explosive this deck actually was. So first off, by the record, we went 4-1, which is fine. Our only loss was against Storm, where we basically just got out goldfish 2 out of the 3 games. Although we did have our single best kill in that entire match. We got a turn 3 kill against Storm, which was super awesome. But the other games, I mean, it felt close. And that's one of the things I realized about where this deck kind of fits in the format. We're kind of I think we're a turn 4 deck, essentially. If you look back at our kills, we got a turn 3 kill, which is, I think, the fastest we can possibly kill. We need a lot of things to go right, but it is possible to combo off on turn 3. We had a few turn 4 kills and a few turn 5 kills. So I think that's pretty much where we are. And killing on turn 4 with some amount of consistency isn't a horrible place to be in the modern format. I think it means that our deck is probably a step slower than Storm is, but we make up for that by being super sweet, and we are fairly consistent as well. So I guess the thing that you realize about the deck once you start playing it is just how much synergy is packed into it. Looking at it on paper, you don't really totally grasp some of the explosive lines. Like the Surge node in specific was just amazing. Be able to play like an Ever-Flowing Chalice on turn 2 after playing a Surge node on turn 1, and all of a sudden you have just like 3, 4, 5 mana. You just make so much mana so fast. It was very practical for us to hardcast Emrakul in some games. Core Tapper was insane. The combo itself, once you find your pieces, which we do pretty regularly thanks to Inventor's Fair, that was one thing I think we could have done better, is make sure we get an Inventor's Fair on the battlefield, because we definitely had a couple of times where we would have liked to crack 2 Inventor's Fair in one turn, but we were stuck with them in hand and only able to cast and crack one of them. So that's one thing we could have done slightly better, but overall, the deck was very impressive. The synergy was very strong. That said, I think we also got a smidge lucky. If you look back at our games, we played a zombie Pox deck, we played Merfolk, we played Borosburn, we played Lantern Control, we played Glyphstorm. We did not run into a single Stony Silence deck, and a single Stony Silence really sets our deck back. We have answers in the sideboard, the natural states, the Seal of Primordiums, but we did, in some sense, get just a tiny bit lucky that we didn't run into probably the best disruption against our deck in the entire format in Stony Silence, which just really shuts down all of our deck from doing anything. But I was pretty impressed with the deck in general. The only thing I would change up is maybe some of the sideboard slots. I don't know exactly when you want Karn, when you want Wormcoil, when you want to go on the ramp plan. The problem with that plan is it still scoops to a turn 2 Stony Silence. Like, we're not ramping into a Karn and hardcasting it. It does allow us to win the game without a Paradox Engine and without the combo, but the way our combo is primarily going to get stopped, I think, is a Stony Silence anyway. I guess it can be a nice hedge against Ancient Grudge and that kind of targeted artifact removal, but I think that that part of the deck could change up maybe a tiny bit. We could play actual counters to help protect our stuff, negates, dispels, etc. We do have the blue mana to do that. I think that the artifact destruction definitely has to stay, and that part of the deck is pretty fine. The artifact/enchantment destruction, that is. But the Helix Pinnacle, Wormcoil, Karn Liberated, not sure about that. The other potential is to go on a more traditional kind of Lantern Control or Prison-y style plan to be able to protect ourselves with like Ley Lines of Sanctity, because discard can be very good against our deck. We're looking to cast our Paradox Engine turn 3, turn 4, and if our opponent has a bunch of Thought Seizes and whatnot, there's a chance that even with a great draw, our opponent can just strip our hand of our important combo pieces, and then we go on to lose. So Leyline of Sanctity is something we'd be interested in. I'm almost interested in Chalice of the Void. If you look at our deck, it stops Surge Node, it stops Ancient Stirrings on 1, and those are important pieces, but that could be another protection type spell. So I think there's some interesting sideboard options. You could move Ensnaring Bridges to the main deck, much like Lantern Control, and kind of be this big combo finishy type deck rather than the slow, milly, grindy type plan. And Ensnaring Bridge seems like it could steal a lot of wins in the main deck, especially since we could tutor it up, so it wouldn't even have to be a 4-of, but we could play it as like a 2-of or a 1-of, and just find it when we need it with our Inventor's Fair, hopefully, or our Ancient Stirrings. So I think there's some neat twists we could do there, but the combo itself, more consistent than I would have imagined, more powerful than I would have imagined. I was very impressed by how little fizzling there was once we got going. Even when we were kind of just like in desperation mode, we usually didn't fizzle. It seemed like there was just enough stuff when we were cracking Mind Stones and Hedron Archives to keep churning through our deck. And then once we get our finishers, Planar Portals, our Batter Skulls, stuff like that, then the game is just literally over. There's no mistaking, messing up from that point. You just got the game on lock. So overall, the deck was super fun, super spicy, pretty competitive, although I feel like we got a tiny bit lucky to not hit Stony Silence decks. That probably could have or would have decreased our record a little bit just because we are so fragile against Stony Silence. It really locks down every single part of what we were trying to do. Like I said, we do have the answers in the sideboard, which makes it a little more palatable, but that is still a big risk, and that didn't come up in our matchup. So keep that in mind. Even though we went 4-1 and the deck felt awesome in our matchups, we were able to maneuver through counterspell decks, we were able to fight through land disruption like Smallpox, we were able to win through Lantern Control, milling our stuff. Like, we beat a lot of powerful stuff, but we never had to face the Stony Silence nightmare. So if tons of people are playing white and playing Stony Silence in your local meta, Proliferate Engine becomes a lot more risky. So it's not that it's unbeatable, because we do have the sideboard cards, but it is much higher risk, and we just never ran into those matchups. So overall, it felt like the biggest flaws of the deck are just getting outraced. Like I said, we're very good at winning on turn 4-ish. Turn 3 if we're super lucky, turn 5 if we're not super lucky, turn 4 maybe average combo kill with a reasonable hand. So we're pretty good at doing that, which means as long as we're not losing on turn 3 to Storm or an aggro deck or something like that, and we don't get hit by that key disruption, there's a really good chance that we can just combo off and win the game that way. So I love the deck. It was a blast to play. It's super unique, super cool. Core Tapper's putting counters on things in Surge Node. It's just so crazy and fun and unique. So I love it. Little weak to Stony Silence, but overall a really solid, playable, surprisingly competitive deck. So that's our Much Abrew About Nothing for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.